And welcome everybody to Sports on Tap. We are, my name is Ed Dick alongside Rob Trautman, Josh Jeffy, and Sean Duffy. You are watching us live on our YouTube channel, Sports on Tap. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at SOT Podcast. We're also on Facebook at Sports on Tap. And then our website's sportsontappodcast.com. You can see all the latest scores, standings, stats, the G&G Fitness Player of the Week. You can vote on that as well. And really all things you want to know about the Southwestern Conference, the Suburban League, the Great Lakes Conference, and the Greater Cleveland Conference. And we are Sports on Tap. Week 10 has come and gone. This has probably been the quickest 10 weeks of high school football we've ever been a part of here. We have a lot to get to today. So after we talk about our sponsors real quick, we're going to go through our recaps. Lots of good Week 10 recaps to get to. Within those recaps, we will talk a little bit about our featured games of the week. We will also go through our G&G Fitness Equipment Player of the Week as well. We have not one, not two, but three guests today, all from Medina. First, we have Brennen Schramm. He is an All-Ohio receiver from his junior year, and he's certainly well on his way to the same this year as a senior. Austin Knowles, a fellow wide receiver for the Battling Bees. And then the fifth member of our crew unofficially, who has been helping us out with a lot of video and coverage lately, Noah Jacobson is going to join us as well. He was the team manager for Medina last year, and he's done a great job for us with some audio, visual posting. We'll be able to offer more content because of people like him as well. So we're real excited to get him on. He may have a new nickname, and Sean may be absolved of the one that he has had for quite a while. But we'll address that more later. We will go through our last Power 10, and then we will go through the playoff brackets for our respective regions. So there's a lot to get to today. Let me cover the sponsors here real quick. RRT Productions, we shoot, we edit, you win. You can call RRT Productions can shoot video of your event, game, or special occasion. Visit our website, www.rrt-productions.com, to contact us today. Ray Felton, State Farm Insurance. Call Ray's office for a free auto quote. If you can see if you can save any money on your auto insurance, I'm sure you can. Ray's a good dude. You can call him at 234-284-2996. He is at 5603 Darrow Road, Suite 500 in beautiful and undefeated Hudson, Ohio. Bandwagon Fantasy Sports. Make sure you go to the Bandwagon Fantasy Sports app to find out how much you know about college football. You have $36. You join a league, you have $36 to work with. Pick your 8 teams. You can add and drop up to 25 times per year. You do get more points if you jump on a bandwagon and they start getting wins early. Road wins are built into the tiebreaker, and now every 2 weeks, real-time adjustments are made to the point value. So someone you may have bought a little bit cheaper now may have gone on a run, and they're a lot more expensive now to purchase. So find out who is talk lots of trash, figure out who truly is the king or queen of college football in 2022. Bandwagon Fantasy Sports, not daily, traditional, just teams, just win. GV Art and Design, that's www.gvartwork.com. Use the promo code 10% some t-shirts for your favorite college, university, and last and certainly not least, G&G Fitness Equipment. They are www.livefit.com. You can also catch them on Twitter at G&G Fitness. Josh Jeffy is on deck, rolling.
Okay, Ed, thank you very much. I got some of that. Ed's kind of breaking up a little bit, but we'll get through it. We're going to start week 10 in the GCC. It was Menor against Euclid, all 3 games this week, this final week of the regular season, all conference games. Menor came in 38-0 victory over Euclid. Thankfully for Euclid, their season is complete. They've had a rough go of it. 1-9, 0-5 in the conference. This was all Menor. Scotty Fox had 2 passing touchdowns, 1 to Mitchell Waite, 1 to Jacob Snow. Jacob Snow also added a rushing touchdown in this one. Menor finishes the regular season at 6-3. Reminder, they only played 9 games. They had a bye, I believe, on week 5. Week 5, they could not get anyone scheduled, but they did finish 4-1 in the conference, tied for second place. In the big rivalry game that for 3 out of 4 of us holds a special place in our heart, the Brunswick Blue Devils pitched a shutout against the Strongsville Mustangs. Brunswick wins 7-0, and they improved to 3-7 on the season, 2-3 in the conference. Strongsville also drops to 3-7 as they finish the regular season. Brunswick snapped a 4-game losing streak in this one. The only score came late in the second quarter as Brunswick went on a 78-yard drive that ended with an Ethan Rock sandwich to Cooper Neal, 32-yard touchdown with 21 seconds left in the first half. Now, Strongsville did have their chances, their first 2 possessions of the game. They went into the red zone looking to score, but Brunswick had that bend don't break defense, and they were able to actually come away with it without giving up any points. Strongsville did have one final drive, but Landon Case for the Blue Devils broke up the deep pass on 4th down, sealing the victory for the Blue Devils. And anytime that you could beat Strongsville, it's a good day for everyone. Now, the feature game that I went to, it was the Greater Cleveland Conference Championship game. Excuse me. The Medina Bees took on the Solon Comets, and this one was all Air Bees as they went on to a 48-7 victory over the Solon Comets. This is the first time in Medina school history that they won back-to-back conference championships. For Solon, unfortunately, they were without their starting quarterback, Charlie Bubonics, who I saw him. He was not dressed in his uniform, so I was kind of asking around. Actually, it was Coach Larry Laird of the Medina Bees who I ran into, talked a little bit, and he said Bubonics had a spleen injury from a previous game, and he is definitely out. So best wishes to Charlie Bubonics as he hopefully he can get healthy. His football season is most likely over, but he does have baseball season come up, so hopefully he can be well enough to play baseball this spring for the Comets. Back to this game, the Medina Bees were up 21-0 after the first quarter. They were up 42-7 at the half. Again, all Medina offense in this one, obviously led by Danny Stoddard. 29-39, 409 yards, and 6 touchdowns. 4 of those touchdowns went to our guest here later on, Brennen Schramm. He had 9 receptions for 148 yards and 4 touchdowns. Jack Wojcik added 8 receptions for 96 yards. And Austin Knowles, our other guest we'll have on tonight, 5 receptions, 58 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And there's a slight difference between the two of these. Austin Knowles is a really athletic young receiver that can really run after the ball and make athletic moves and has a little more physicality to it. Where Brennen Schramm is just a beast. Yards after carry. He catches the ball and he flies. So these two are, obviously along with Jack Wojcik, Carlos Corchado, and others for the Air Bees are on it. But their defense came to play as well for the Bees. Nathan Nunn had 7 tackles, 5 solo, 4 tackles for a loss, and a sack. And Talon Hovey, once again, tied for the lead in tackles with for the Bees defense. He had 7 also. For Solon, some offensive numbers. Stepping in for quarterback was Harley Barman, the junior. He went 7-10 for 72 yards and a touchdown. He did have 30 yards rushing. E.J. Taylor added 14 carries for 66 yards. And Joe Capasso, the receiver for the Comets, had a big game last week, but did not have one this week. 3 receptions for only 7 yards. He did have a long touchdown, though, that was deflected. He ended up catching it. He did have that called back. There was a penalty. So Joe Capasso kept to a minimum by the Air Bees. So that about wraps it up. Real quick, though, I want to give props to Danny Stoddard because he does break Drew Aller's regular season touchdown, passing touchdown record with 49. So total for the 2022 season, Danny Stoddard completed 69% of his passes for 3,896 yards, 49 touchdowns. He did also add 450 rushing yards on 7 TDs. So what a heck of a year for Danny Stoddard. And the Air Bees themselves, Medina really got their offense going, and they're looking to keep that momentum going into the playoffs. We'll talk about the playoff matchups and pairings a little bit later on in the show. but it looks like Ed is not here anymore. So I think we're just going to toss that over to Rob to talk about the Southwestern Conference. And we'll go to you, Rob. Take it away, buddy.
All right, Josh, appreciate that, and we'll see if we can get Ed back in here. But yeah, let's look at the Southwestern Conference, and we're first going to start with Amherst. They traveled to Avon, and they looked to try to get their first win. But Sam DiTilio, he would have none of that as he rushed for a pair of touchdowns in this game. 4 Eagles found the end zone. Seth Warwick scored 11 points with 2 field goals and 5 PATs as Avon. They would clinch their 7th consecutive Southwestern Conference championship with a 41-0 win over Amherst in this game. They have also held opposing teams to 7 or less points for the 5th time out of 6 games. 10 passes to 10 different receivers in this game. And listen to this. Running back Ja'Corin Caffey, he was just shy of 1,000 yards rushing. He needed 66 yards in this game, but was taken out at halftime with 49 yards and a 31-0 lead. They wanted to be careful and obviously have him for the playoffs. But for Amherst, it was sophomore running back J.R. Biles. He had 64 yards on 23 carries. All right, so Avon Lake traveling to North Ridgeville, and thought this would be a pretty tough game. Wanted to see how Avon Lake would come back after they looked to rebound against a tough loss at home versus Olmsted Falls last week. They started off by losing their running back Wade Nelson, and that's a huge loss for them. Avon Lake, though, they would respond as Jason Krakowski scored from 1 yard out. Then wide receiver Luke Stewie, he was in a wildcat formation, so they looked to change up the offense a little bit. They would score from 13 yards out, and all of a sudden quickly it was 14-0 in the first quarter. Avon Lake would have the lead. The defense, they played a big part too. Defensive end Avery Vancourt had a strip sack that was recovered by the Shoremen at the Rangers' 6-yard line. Even with the big lead, the Rangers, they didn't give up as their defense forced a fumble, and they went down and scored as junior Nate Bobber on a 9-yard touchdown run in the fourth quarter. Avon Lake would win big in this one, 41-17 the final score. Avon Lake 8-2, 5-2. North Ridgeville drops to 500, 5-5, 2-5 in conference. Berea Mid-Park traveling to Olmsted Falls, and this is a rivalry game for the Bagley Cup, as they call it. Is Berea Mid-Park, they would score first, and it was a Hudson Devens touchdown, as Hudson Devens would score and make it 7-0. Olmsted Falls, they answered, though, with a running back from Derek Neckar. The Titans, they took advantage of having Hudson Devens, though, giving the ball again, and he rumbled for a 48-yard touchdown run. This was the last lead, though, the Titans would have in this game, as the Titans' Troy Schick, he would connect with Matthew Sensel, but the Bulldogs started running back Rocco Conti, and they kept giving it to him. He had 18 rushes for 206 yards, 4 touchdowns. For Berea Mid-Park, it was Hudson Devens with 2 touchdowns, 130 yards rushing. Jack Pinchak, he had 103 yards and a touchdown on 9 carries. Derek Neckar for Olmsted Falls also ran for 97 yards, 2 touchdowns on 15 carries. So it was a 3-headed monster for Olmsted Falls as they win big in this one, 49-21 as they knock out Berea Mid-Park. Berea Mid-Park drops to 5-5, 4-3 in conference. Olmsted Falls 9-1, 6-1, and their only loss coming to Avon is actually they did lose 2 games in this, so they were 8-2 on the season, not 9-1. They lost to Chardon and Avon, but their only conference loss was to Avon. Midview traveling to Elyria, and Elyria looking to send a statement in this one and get ready for the playoffs, and they definitely did that in this one. Running back Jaden Gilbert, he scored on a 65-yard touchdown run. Then it was running back Lance Glover scoring from 58 yards on 3 consecutive plays. And just like that, the Pioneers were up 14-0 in this game. And what a game it was. The Middies, though, they would get on the board with a field goal as Gilbert would score his 3rd touchdown shortly after the field goal. The Pioneers' Cameron Edwards, they return an interception 65 yards. Jaden Gilbert also took an interception to the house from 55 yards. On defense, it was Isaiah Johnson, a senior linebacker. He had 3 sacks, a forced fumble, and a half a work. And again, Elyria with a big 41-3 win. They're 5-5, 3-4 in conference. Midview drops to 2-8, 1-6. And really in this game, it was Jaden Gilbert and Lance Glover. A lot of these guys only played a half of football, and Jaden Gilbert was the SWC Player of the Week, G&G Fitness SWC Player of the Week, as he had 118 yards rushing and a pick 6 for 60 yards that he took. He had, I believe, 4 touchdowns in this game, and that was only in a half of football. So give credit to Jaden Gilbert. He's running back. He plays defense for the Elyria Pioneers. He's the G&G Fitness SWC Player of the Week. So that's the Southwestern Conference in a nutshell. We'll get to the playoff picture later on in the show, so you don't want to go anywhere for that, as we'll go over the full playoff picture coming up later in the show.
I may add, I didn't get to it at the end of my recap, but my G&G Fitness Player or Players of the Week nominee for the GCC is the Brunswick Blue Devils defense, shutting out the Mustangs. Anytime you shut them out, you're going to nominate from them.
No doubt about that. And I mean, a lot of great play in the Southwestern Conference here. I think everybody who we thought would win did win, and moving forward, we'll see what happens as the playoffs come along. As we see that playoff picture, it's going to be an interesting one to say the least. But without further ado, I'll send it to Sean Duffy, as he's going to cover the Suburban League, and I won't go through the compadre, friend, brother, I won't go through all that. I'll just say, he's the man with a plan in the Suburban League.
I'm the man with the plan, but I'm the man who hasn't figured out how to share a screen correctly for 20 minutes. So
hey, that's all right.
Thank you, Ed, for stepping in and doing this for me. But we'll start out as we always do in the Suburban League American Division, and Aurora ends their season on a very, very strong, convincing win of 42-7 over Revere. Aurora was led by quarterback Brandon Lipens, went 18 of 24 for 247 yards and 2 touchdowns on the night. Also on the ground for Aurora, Alex Tenorio, 120 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. For Revere, their lone touchdown came on a Luke Ferris touchdown pass, but it just wasn't enough as the Greenmen outscored the Revere Minutemen 42-7 in Week 10. In perhaps the closest game in the American Division this week, Talmadge needed a last-second touchdown run by quarterback Ty Hurst to give them the 20-14 victory over Barberton. Ty Hurst here did finish 17 of 29. Yes, 17 of 29 for 202 yards. He did have 2 passing touchdowns and that rushing touchdown. Colin Dixon, the Wisconsin recruit and all-star wide receiver for the Blue Devils, did have 9 catches for 120 yards and 1 caught a 2-point conversion, which sealed the deal for the Talmadge Blue Devils in the 20-14 victory. Kent Roosevelt not going to the playoffs, but they sure ended their season on a high note with a 40-0 drubbing of Cuyahoga Falls. Kent Roosevelt's Donovan Detweiler scored 3 times in this game, 2 on the ground and 1 catching a pass to give Kent Roosevelt a 40-0 victory in Week 10. Our matchup that determined, pretty much solidified our American Division champion, Copley, went in to take on Highland, and I'll let Noah explain what that game looked like, but just to give you some highlights, Highland did what Highland's been doing all year. They scored a lot of points, and they didn't allow a lot of points. In fact, they pitched their fifth shutout of the season. Highland running back Luke Stiles finished with 138 yards and 4 touchdowns. Noah Robinson also finished with 125 yards and a touchdown. Again, Highland shutting out a team for the 5th time this season. Moving on to the National Division, we start with the Bees of Brecksville traveling to take on North Royalton. And it was all Cody Miller all night for the Bears, as he leads the team and the Bears to a 30-0 victory over the Bees. Miller racked up 236 yards rushing and 4 rushing touchdowns on the night. All the offense flew through him, and good on North Royalton for pitching a shutout against Brecksville. They will move on to the playoffs, as Brecksville will go home for the season. but Brecksville and North Royalton beats Brecksville 30-0. Twinsburg traveled to take on Wadsworth, and just like Brecksville and North Royalton, the Grizzlies get a big 33-0 victory over Twinsburg. Wadsworth's running back Will Stack had 3 touchdowns on the night, including he had a passing touchdown by Luke Fisher for the Wadsworth Grizzlies, as the Grizzlies blanked Twinsburg 33-0. Nordonia traveled to Euclid to take on Benedictine on a Thursday night game and took care of business on Thursday night, 33-19. The big story in this game was Nordonia linebacker Brendan Herminski, who had 2 interceptions for a touchdown on the night, and that really did spark the Nordonia win here, 33-19 over Benedictine. And the game that decided the national division for the most part was Hudson traveling in to take on Stowe. Stowe traveling to take on Hudson, and Hudson gets a 42-13 victory. They finish undefeated for the 3rd time in school history. They are 10-0, and they are solidly the national division champion. Hudson quarterback Jagger Pillay went 14 of 19 for 191 yards and 3 touchdowns. Hudson running back and basically workhorse Ian Lundwig, 40 carries, 183 yards and 3 touchdowns. Stowe quarterback Jacob Harrington did have a pass touchdown. The other touchdown for Stowe did come on a recovered fumble in the end zone, but it just wasn't enough to stop Hudson, and that's been the case for Hudson all year. As Hudson gets a 42-13 victory, they are your Suburban League National Division champions for 2022. My G&G Fitness Player of the Week, I went back and forth here. I really did, but I decided to give it to North Royalton running back Cody Miller, 236 yards and 4 touchdowns on the night. And as Rob and Josh mentioned early on, we're going to go into those playoff matchups as we got a lot of teams from the Suburban League, a lot of teams from the Southwestern Conference, a lot of teams from the GLC and the GCC that are all playoff bound. So for more on what happened in the GLC, I'm going to turn it over to my compadre, my cohort, my colleague, my co-worker, Ed Dick. Ed, take it away.
Thank you, Sean. Hopefully this is working a little bit better now. Let's change the old PowerPoint here. Got lots to talk about here. These were the East-West crossover games where each team who finished in a respective spot in their division played the other division in the same spot. All the West teams were the host teams this year around. So we'll start with the 3rd place game. It was the North Olmsted Eagles taking on the Buckeye Bucks. This was a rematch of an earlier game won by North Olmsted. North Olmsted was up 20-7 going into the 4th quarter. They ran all over the Buckeyes defense. Jared Kelly had 23 rushes for 176 yards and 2 touchdowns. Xavier Balson was 13-25 passing for 181 yards and 2 touchdowns. Colin Willard for North Olmsted had 115 yards on 6 receptions and a touchdown. And North Olmsted survives a 4th quarter comeback from Buckeye, and they get a 28-21 victory to finish 3rd place in the Great Lakes Conference. For Buckeye, it was Casey Murray. He had 14-25 passes. He had 1 touchdown. Troy McCann was largely shut down for the most of the game. He only had 33 yards and 11 rushes and a touchdown. North Olmsted, a 223-77 advantage on the ground. With the win, North Olmsted is 7-3. Buckeye also is 7-3. The 5th place game saw Valley Forge take on Rocky River. Rocky River hit the scoreboard first on the touchdown pass from Julian Patty to Sam Hewler, but it was all Valley Forge afterwards. Shane Warden hit pay dirt from 38 and 14 yards out. He finished with 22 carries for 219 yards and 3 touchdowns. His running mate, Ben Farson, had 8 carries for 54 yards and a touchdown. Valley Forge had over 400 yards rushing on the ground compared to just 142 for Rocky River. A pivotal moment in this game came when Rocky River completed a pass, and it looked like they were going in for a touchdown, but Valley Forge forced a fumble on the 1-yard line and got the ball back. And the game was, I think, 14-7 at the time. So Rocky River was going in for the tying score, and just some bad luck there. Great play by Valley Forge. Rocky River's Johnny Beebe had 8 rushes for 58 yards. Valley Forge finishes in 5th place. They are 7-3. Rocky River drops to 4-6. The 7th place game saw Bay take on Normandy, and Bay ran all over the Invaders to the tune of 5 rushing touchdowns. By 1 from Matt Weingart, Charles Rice, Daniel Barker, Charlie Rogers, and Rocco, oh boy, I don't know how, but Hereditario They also had a touchdown pass from Tony Patari to Jay Snap to account for all their touchdowns. Normandy got a touchdown from Nathaniel Lovejoy to open up the scoring for Normandy before Bay went on an insane run of 49 straight points. Bay's win gets them to 5-5. They do make the playoffs. We'll talk about that more in Division 3, Region 10. Normandy falls to 5-5. They just missed the playoffs in Division 2, Region 6 as the 17th seed. The ninth place game saw Westlake take on Lakewood. Westlake's Sam Brucieri was very efficient, 11 of 14 passes for 209 yards and 2 touchdowns. Michael Porcelli had 15 rushes for 86 yards and 3 touchdowns. Cooper Rommel had 2 catches for 94 yards and 2 touchdowns. Westlake's defense got 2 pick sixes, one for Kale Cipollone from 10 yards out and Matthew Randar from 49 yards. For Lakewood, it was Jalen Chappelle. He had a 95-yard kickoff return for a touchdown and also a 45-yard rushing touchdown for the Rangers. But Westlake, they improved to 5-5 overall, and they steal the number 16 seed in the final playoff spot in Division 2, Region 6. Lakewood falls to 3-7. They end their season at number 3-7, and they just missed the playoffs in Division 2, Region 6. Parma avenges their earlier loss to Fairview. They get their first win of the season. They finished 1-9. Mathematically eliminated for quite a while in Division 2, Region 6. Fairview also finishes 1-9, and they end their season at number 25 in Division 5, Region 17. Now, one of the featured games of the week was the Great Lakes Conference Championship game between Holy Name and Elyria Catholic. Our own Sean Duffy was at that game. Sean, let's hear a little bit about that one.
Yeah, Ed, it was a really, really fun game to cover. Initially, Holy Name, first off, I got to say, Holy Name comes out in droves to support their team. They had a massive following and they packed that stadium in Elyria Catholic, and to no shame on the other side, Elyria Catholic was rocking to start that game. Javon Williams was the story of this game, really. He had a great game. He had a really nice touchdown pass to open up the scoring for Holy Name on their first drive. And then the defense did play pretty well for the most part in the first quarter, really limiting Levi Ellis and the success that running attack has had over the year that we've covered them. But then, in the second quarter, that solely belonged to Elyria Catholic, as they were able to put up 14 unanswered points going into halftime, and they were going to get the ball after halftime. Now, the entirety of the game kind of turned in the third quarter, and it opened up very, very quickly. After forcing a turnover on down, a punt for Elyria Catholic, Holy Name went on to score 21 unanswered points. And they did it in such a way. First was a great run pass from Javon Williams to Adrian Wondolowski for 25 yards. Then on the ensuing kickoff, they forced an Elyria Catholic fumble and jumped on it, and they were on like the 25-yard line. And they made their way down. And again, for as much as we talk about Levi Ellis, you got to take your hats off to a guy like Adrian Wondolowski. He was hard to bring down. At many times, I didn't know he was an actual running back. I thought he was a guard, but he ran like a freaking horse when they were inside the 5-yard line. And they were able to put 2 touchdowns up in the third quarter. Now, the game got a little tight as the fourth quarter opened, as Levi Ellis, again, did what he always does. He takes control of the game for Elyria Catholic. He actually threw a touchdown pass to Tony Grosso, and he actually scored the 2-point conversion. So they were able to get the game to 28 to 25. But at that point in time, Javon Williams was the difference maker here. They were simply, you could really tell they were trying to salt away the game, but credit to Holy Name's the offensive line and their running back, but Javon Williams was able to pop one for 46 yards and really put the nail in the coffin for Elyria Catholic. Elyria Catholic attempted to come back and maybe get that game a little bit closer, but it really turned out to be more of a situation where the defense of Holy Name showed up, and then they were able to tack on a late touchdown as they were salting away by Christian Sanchez for Holy Name. If you want to read all about it, I do have some really great insight as to how that happened. I can give you the play-by-play, but I also have some really great clips that I was able to put together, including Levi Ellis's 96-yard run, where at one point I could have reached out and high-fived him. I almost did. but I maintained my professionalism at that point. But yeah, I mean, it was a really great game, and I thought, going into halftime, Ed, the fact that Elyria Catholic had just scored and they were going to get the ball back, and it didn't seem like Holy Name really had an answer for that. Just that ground and pound that is the Elyria Catholic offense. But credit to their defense. They came out, they showed up, they stopped them, stoned them, and then really took advantage. They took advantage of some really explosive plays. Javon Williams was really a very fun kid to watch. Wondolowski was a power back. He's been that all year. I mean, he's the coach's kid, right? He's there. So it was really impressive to see Holy Name come out. But credit to both teams. I mean, they're really the top of the top here in the Great Lakes Conference. It was the score is a little bit misleading. The 42-25, a lot of that was the late touchdowns when they were trying to salt it away, and it's just, they did their best. But I expect both of these teams in their respective playoff brackets and divisions and regions to really be teams that nobody wants to play right now, because the defense of Elyria Catholic, while it looks as though they got their doors blown off, really didn't. They were in this game until late in the fourth quarter when it got away from them. In a Holy Name, God, you talk about having the grit. You're down 17-7 going into half, and you have enough, intestinal fortitude, as they used to say in the Attitude Era, to come out and stop them on defense and then just put up those points in rapid succession. It was really impressive to watch. So congratulations to the Holy Name. You are the 2022 Great Lakes Conference champion. You went on the road and you got the win. I mean, that's a great win for them.
I couldn't agree more, Sean, and great job on the coverage there. Holy Name has, they clearly, they were kind of sneaky good throughout the whole season. Outside of a loss to a Clyde team when they had to go out there, and a loss to Elyria Catholic, they steadily just kind of kept their nose down and just continued to improve over the course of the year. And and they were ready to strike when it was time. The two biggest games against Buckeye and Elyria Catholic, they took full advantage. And there's no doubt in our minds who those champions are, and that is the Holy Name Green Wave. You can see a quick look at the hopefully what I'm looking at here. I don't know if it actually shared what I wanted to share, but let's try that out.
I do have to apologize, Ed. I've been watching too much Rocky. It's not Adrian Wondolowski, it's Austin Wondolowski, and that's my fault because I can't read apparently. But yeah, that Austin Wondolowski. My apologies.
There's the setup for the Great Lakes Conference. Holy Name, by virtue of their victory, wins the Great Lakes Conference. They are the number 1 seed in a very tough Division III Region 10, where they have been finalists for that region 2 years running. Elyria Catholic joins a new division in a new region where they were a regional finalist last year as well. So I have no doubt, that both those teams are looking to pick up where they left off, led by a lot of players that have lots of playoff experience. And speaking of that, our GLC G&G Fitness Player of the Week nominee is none other than quarterback for Holy Name, Javon Williams. When you ball out in the conference championship game, that's what you certainly deserve that consideration. He is I believe a former winner of that this year, former guest on our show, all around great kid. So very well deserved there. So we'll get through the playoffs here in a little bit. If I'm not mistaken, I think we're going to go through. Let's get to the G&G Fitness Player of the Week here before we get our guests. So let's we'll shoot it over to Josh Jeffy, our EVP of social media and cheerleader of all that is pronunciations, to help us out with that.
Yes, and I still have not seen any increase in pay for my new title that you guys have been giving me all year, but I'm sure that's
in the mail.
It's lost in payroll somewhere. That's okay.
Sure.
But our Week 10 G&G Fitness Player of the Week nominees, we'll go over those real quickly. Cody Miller from North Royalton, Jaden Gilbert from Elyria, Javon Williams for Holy Name, and the Brunswick Blue Devils defense. With 230 votes in our 230 votes, not volts. It is electrifying, though. Votes in this week's poll. It's actually back to the GCC. The Brunswick defense coming through 58%
I
of the
smell
votes.
a setup here.
Hey, Hey, we got to give them their props. Again, yes, totally Homer. I get it. Don't mind this right here. Don't mind that. Totally Homer. But I had to go with them. Congratulations to them. You know, we've talked about it all year. That the Brunswick defense has been stingy, and this game it means a little more. Obviously, to these two teams, these two communities. So for the defense to come out and pitch a shutout, especially for those seniors who have not had a really stellar year, by Brunswick football standards. That was a good way to go out in the regular season. They will have a playoff matchup, what we'll talk about here in a little bit, but their season's not done. So congratulations to the Blue Devils defense as they win our G&G Fitness Week 10 Player of the Week. As we see from the shared screen there, Jaden Gilbert and Hilaria coming through with a solid second place, 20.9% of the votes. Javon Williams, 14.8% of the votes. And Cody Miller rounds it out with 5.7. But we want to thank everyone for liking the tweet, retweeting it, spread the word a little bit. Yes, we understand that there's a lot of notable candidates, but
Yeah.
we want to make sure that we want to spread the love to everyone who's deserving. We understand that it could be the same group of guys every week that we talk about every week. But we do want to spread the love. So congratulations to those guys, and thanks everyone for voting this season and as well as the past seasons.
And even the comments, I know we had a guy say Dan Stoddard with his 7 touchdowns, which we've had him a lot, like you said, Josh, and also Tommy Maroon Sports on Twitter wanted Luke Stiles, which I think we just had 4 touchdowns in one game. Obviously impressive. And then Namer Mom there, Javon Williams has proven week after week he has what it takes, and couldn't agree more on that one. We also had a Jaden Gilbert, which he was on there. So, a lot of good comments. We're glad when people try to get involved with the show, and we do check your responses and your comments. So we appreciate you contributing.
Week,
yeah.
Lucas Stiles won last week.
I think he did, yeah. You're right. So there it is for this week's G&G Fitness Player of the Week. Congratulations, Blue Devils.
Players.
While we're waiting for our guests, I'd be remiss if we didn't mention our tremendous sponsors at least one more time during the course of our show. Again, make sure you're checking out RRT Productions. That's www.rrtproductions.com for all your filming needs. We shoot, we edit, you win. GV Art and Design is www.gvartwork.com. Use the promo code ONTAP10 to get 10% off of your order. Again, get all those awesome your favorite local professional team and college and university shirt as well. Ray Felton State Farm Insurance. Raymond Felton State Farm, they always put the customer's needs first. Call for a quick quote to get the discounts you deserve and the coverage you're looking for. You can call him at 234-284-2996. He is located at 5603 Darrow Road, Suite 500 in beautiful Hudson, Ohio. G&G Fitness Equipment, that's www.livefit.com. You can also see them at G&G Fitness EQ on Twitter. They have been our Player of the Week nominee, Player of the Week sponsor all the year. They've been with us for quite a while, so we certainly thank them for their assistance there as well. And last and certainly not least, a new sponsor to the team, Bandwagon Fantasy Sports. Make sure you download the Bandwagon Fantasy Sports app to find out if you know college football better than us or anybody that you know. Again, you get to choose college teams, and you get points based off of the games that they win. Tiebreakers are built in for wins that are done on the road, and for teams that you have picked out earlier in the season and that have been riding that bandwagon, you are getting rewarded heavily for that because every 2 weeks the values for each of those schools do go up. They are subjective exactly to where they sit in the rankings. So if you picked a team like Tennessee, for example, early in the season, they have gone on quite the run. they're probably worth a lot more now than they were in week 1. So make sure you ride that fantasy bandwagon all the way through. Bandwagon fantasy sports, not daily, not traditional, just teams, just win. So let's talk a little bit about our guests coming up here. We have Brennen Schramm and Austin Knowles from the Medina Battling Bees, or the Air Bees, from what Josh likes to has christened them this year. You can't say enough about Medina. I believe this is the first time in school history that they have back-to-back outright conference championships. We're not just talking Greater Cleveland Conference. We're talking Pioneer League, the Pioneer Conference, and any other conference that they were in back in the day. So certainly a tremendous accomplishment. It looks like Brennen and Austin are just about to join us now. We have Brennen there, and there's Austin. All right, how you guys doing? We are joined by Medina Battling Bees, Air Bees, as Josh likes to call you guys, wide receivers Brennen Schramm and Austin Knowles. We want to thank you guys for coming on, and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. We're glad we get to talk to you guys. We talked with Danny Stoddard a little bit earlier in the year, right after, I believe after the first game when he really aired things out, and obviously he has not stopped. And he said no part to you guys as well. First off, congratulations on the team's success. Back-to-back conference champions for the first time in school history. Just tell me about how that feels, and explain just how you got here, and how much it means to you guys.
I mean, first thing, it's just a great feeling because, first time ever back-to-back conference champions in school history. So, just that alone, it's really good. And, I feel like what got us here is just hard work and motivation for the season.
And Austin, how about you? How's the season been going? Obviously, you guys are talented all around. You have so many weapons on the offense. Talk a little bit about how that's been working with Brennen and also Danny Stoddard at quarterback for you.
Danny's been a really good quarterback. He's definitely stepped up. He had a big role to play, and Schramm's doing a good job at leading the receiving group and showing us all what to do. We're all first-year starters, really, and he's helped us find where we fit into the offense and stuff.
Yeah, we're also joined by the unofficial 5th member of our team, Noah Jacobson, popping on. He's been working with us a little bit with some great footage. Noah, welcome to the show, and welcome to the podcast. How you doing tonight?
Doing good. How are you guys?
Doing great. We know you have a really good relationship with Brennen and Austin and the whole Medina team. So we're looking forward to getting some insight from you here as well. Let's go back to Brennen and Austin here. Wrapping up the conference championship against Solon. You ran through the conference again. Just what were some of the biggest differences? You guys won last year. You guys won the conference last year. How hard was it to repeat this year for you guys?
It just takes a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, a lot of hours in the weight room and the film room, and just on the field, just because we lost a lot of guys last year. So fortunately we had a bunch of guys who were able to learn and watch and step up this year, as you saw as we went back to back. So everybody just put their time in, and we saw the result of that.
What I really want to know, guys, and Austin, you could start with this one. You guys, just to make sure I wasn't on mute because I've been known for that. But, you guys all are having your own special season, your own special ways between you two. And then you had Jack Wojcik, all of you over 1,000 yards. It doesn't seem like it, but is there a level of high competition in practice? Because when you guys get on the field, you guys are all running and gunning, Air B's going full force, and it's straight to the end zone. But in practice, how is that competitive drive between the wide receivers? Because, the old cliche, iron sharpens iron. So is that the truth in practice?
Yeah, I'd say we really try to push each other to become like better and help out our offense and try to win more games. Really, uh, we're doing a good job at that. Really.
And Brennen, what about you? You're kind of the senior man, literally
Yep.
and figuratively, on that wide receiving course. So you kind of lead the way in terms of competitive. How practices for you?
They're good. I mean, I just try and make sure everybody has the right mindset going into the week. Like, like, hey, especially with playoffs right now, it's, one game at a time. You got to have a perfect practice because, I mean, you practice how you play. So, I mean, you go in and you have a bad day of practice. I mean, hey, you got to pick it up tomorrow. Come on, as a senior, I feel like, it's kind of my responsibility to, like, get some of these guys going. So I feel like, it's a good thing to do just because, yeah, I mean,
a couple questions that I've had for anybody who plays for Medina is, you guys have really, and it's not just been these last couple of years. We've seen this kind of natural progression for the last few years that you guys have gotten, better and better. And now you guys are just having probably your best 2 seasons as a program. What's been the culture or the message about to the culture like these last for your guys' career? What's been the big thing that your coaches are harping on, that you as players are harping on? What's one of the things you guys have really latched onto throughout your career?
I feel like a thing this year is like, Medina has been for the past couple of years a winning program. So, that's what is expected. Medina is, for at least from the coaching staff, you're expected to put the time in, you're expected to put the work in. I mean, you're expected to win the games too.
Brennen, congratulations, and Austin on the Greater Cleveland Conference Championship and the win against Solon. With Drew Aller graduating, what have you guys been doing dating back to the summer to develop chemistry with quarterback Danny Stoddard?
Knowles, you want this one or should I take it?
Either one.
We've been doing some throwing stuff over the summer. I had a lot of playtime with Stoddard. We have made a lot of chemistry. I played JV with him last year, and really our chemistry came from that and a lot of summer work and throwing the ball, practicing routes and concepts that we do in games.
And as well.
I couldn't agree with what he said. Or, I mean, I couldn't agree more with what he said. I mean, all those summer workouts and all the things that we did just to, like, build that bond and build that relationship with him. And I mean, he did a great job. I mean, putting all that work into the summer and with whether it be film in the weight room or on the field. So
we're talking with Medina wide receivers, Brennen Schramm, Austin Knowles, and then also our newest addition to SOT, Noah Jacobson. Hey, for Brennen and Austin, last couple of years, you guys have had a lot of success in the playoffs. You've gotten to play a lot more games, than a lot of other teams have. How has that carried over into this year, being able to play those additional games?
Well, I mean, from one way that I look at it is it's able to get the younger kids more practice time, like develop more experience. Because I know that our freshman team, their season just ended, so they started practicing with us now. So I mean, it's just a great way for them to, like, get a look into what Medina football is and what the culture is.
Brandon, Austin, what has your wide receiver coach been doing to push you guys to get better each week during the season?
He's just, he's been on us. He's been, on what we need to do, what we need to focus on, and what we need to work on. I mean, he's just honest with us. He tells us, what we don't want to hear, but, need to hear. And I mean, he's just been, he's been keeping us humble. He's been keeping us, on our toes. So, I mean, he's done a great job.
Austin, what about you? Same question. That's a good question about the wide receiver coach.
He's helped us a lot. We're staying a lot in the film room and looking at their defenses. He pushes us. We do ball security drills every day. We practice our routes. He he tells us everything we need to work on in game and stuff, and he helps us a lot.
Brennen and Austin, you guys have a rematch coming up against Strongsville, the rematch from week 5. What do you expect them to do different against than you expect from the Air B attack?
Yeah, Noah. All right.
I like the sound of that. I mean, we're not 100% sure, what Strongsville's going to do. They might come out in the same coverage, might come out in a different coverage. And I mean, whatever it's going to be, we're just going to have to work through it and, just try and find the best play for it or against it. So.
Yeah, I believe last time you guys played them, they really just put 3 guys in the box and then put 8 back. And then you guys kind of hit them with those screen passes and then broke out and yards after carry. And that's one thing that I noticed about actually both of you guys. The yards after catch are huge. You guys have the speed and the ability just to pretty much just take it to the house. Is that scheme or, I mean, obviously it's scheme but and skill, but what about conditioning? I mean, you guys really go into conditioning in the off season to really work on that speed, and you guys are doing speed drills. I mean, that's kind of a point to being a wide receiver on a run and gun offense like you guys have of being able to have that speed and that ability. Is that some of the things you guys have both worked on in the offseason to improve those things?
Yeah. I know for me, at least, our head track coach, he's one of the safeties coaches, which really helps in the summer off season. Because, I mean, he knows what he's talking about and he knows what he's doing. So, I mean, that's just helped me, drastically, just because it helped change my form. It's helped me learn the proper way to run. And I mean, he's done a great job with us all. Because I mean, you see guys like Knowles and Wojak and other guys on the defense too who are just excelling because of speed. And I mean, it just shows what a great job he's doing.
That's the same question.
Well, I've been doing the same thing really with track. Coach Stepsis has really helped a lot with how I run, even though I didn't really compete in any running event besides hurdles sometimes. I also went to Express down in Brunswick. They helped me a lot with my running form and stuff like that with resistant band training and stuff. And yeah, we're a really fast receiving core this year. And I'm proud of that. And it really helps our offense getting as much yards after the catch as possible.
Yeah, one thing I had sorry, Sean.
I was just gonna. Never mind. Go ahead.
I was gonna just mention I was at the Medina game or Medina versus Avon when you guys traveled to Avon, and that was a shootout, and that I thought was a great game for Danny, especially, and you guys, because you guys put up some huge numbers. Yeah, you didn't get the win, but I thought it could give you some confidence with your offense. Obviously, moving forward, you had a lot of confidence. But was there one game during the season this year that everything just started clicking and you both had the confidence, I can make every catch, I can beat the defender? Because it seems like every game now, you guys just, no matter who's on you, you guys have the one-on-one matchups. You have zone. You guys are putting up points at a crazy level. And Danny Stoddard, you had a great quarterback in Drew Aller there last year, and everybody's like, uh-oh, he's gone. Danny Stoddard came in, and you guys didn't skip a beat. So were there some games this year that you started getting your rhythm on offense? And both you guys, it seems like every week you guys are scoring touchdowns, and you look at your numbers, and I'm sure you guys don't always look at stats, but you guys are putting up incredible numbers on offense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think there was any specific game where it all really just started clicking. I think it was just a couple of games, just hey, we didn't do this right. And then the next week, we worked on that. And then another thing came up. So, I mean, I think it was just a whole collection of the first couple games, Danny just getting his feet wet as that starter position, and even all the other guys who haven't started before. And I mean, it just came with the confidence just came with the experience. And I mean, you got to have that mindset going out there, at least as a receiver, I'm going to make this catch, and whatever DB that's on me, he's not going to be able to guard me. So I mean, I know for me at least, I was fortunate to have started last year, so I I have that experience. So, I mean, I just tried my best to like, tell the other guys like, it's a football game. Like, you've done this before. So.
And Brennan, is that the message that because you mentioned, Austin mentioned that you're kind of the leader of the receiving corps. And is that the message that you're letting everyone know that even coming into this I know everyone's, it's a playoff game and it's the start of the playoffs and everything like that. How much of that are you communicating to all your receivers that are out there? Like, hey, go out and do your job and do what you're coached to do. And it, like you said, it's just a regular football game.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I just try and emphasize like, if you do what you're coached to do and, we'll come out, I think you'll be happy with like, the result you get. Cause I mean, we watched enough film, you put the work in during practice. So, you will be successful if you do it. So, I mean, I have I don't have any more years left. So, I mean, I feel like, I just try and go to tell the guys like, hey, I mean, it's a football game, but don't let it be your last one.
It's a football game, not the last football game.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I do have a follow-up question because you guys mentioned how much you're working with the track team and working on your speed. I can't imagine that you guys are doing any sort of races, trying to figure out who the fastest guy in the receiving corps is. And if you want to go ahead and just let me know who that guy is, Josh will, I don't know, probably make up a logo making you the Air B King or whatever it is, because he's been saying the Air B's since week 1. So I want to know fastest guy on the team. It can even be a lineman. It never really is. I've been a lineman my whole life. I've never been the fastest of anything. But who's your fastest guy on the receiving corps or on the team?
I'm not going to answer that question. I'm not sure. I don't.
Austin.
We've never actually raced. So
Austin.
Let's.
I've never raced any of them, so I don't know. I didn't compete in any of the running events during track. I was more of a high jumper and long jumper kind of guy.
Okay. See, this is great. Team unity before the playoffs start. I love it.
Certainly appreciate Austin taking the lead from Brennen on that one as he has. And as Brennen said, you listen to your coach, good things are going to happen. And that was really well done.
Austin, I did want to ask you, since you do like the jumping events in track, you had you've had many spectacular catches this year, but one, I wasn't actually at the game, but I saw it on Fox 8 that your big one-handed grab for the touchdown. Just talk about that feeling of going up, because you, my man, have some ups, and you can get up there and grab that ball. So talk about that feeling, just going up as high as you possibly can and coming down with it and getting a score for your team, what that feeling is like, and knowing that you made a spectacular catch.
Yeah, really, I didn't think I was going to get the ball thrown to me on that one. He was a little close. Danny trusted me a lot to go up and get the ball. So I just jumped up and put my hand up, and I was a little surprised when I came down with it. I didn't think I got my foot in, but I watched it back, and I'm glad that I did, because that's definitely my best catch of the season.
And besides track, what do you guys play? Do you guys play any other sports?
I play basketball.
No, I don't play anything. I don't do anything other than track and football.
Okay. What you say you're more of a like a hurdler, jumper type. Are you gonna broaden out to some of the other events this year, you think?
I think I might try to do the 100 this year. I'm not sure. I really just do whatever steps he says he needs me to do.
There you go, the utility player there.
There it is.
Yeah.
Brennan, what position do you play basketball?
I'm a shooting guard. I kind of just sit in the corner. Get past the ball. Yeah, I'll shoot it.
You're a sharpshooter. Look at this guy, sharpshooter, diplomatic about who's the fastest on the team. I don't know.
Brett.
Go ahead,
Brennen.
Josh. I know you want to ask it. Go.
No, I was just going to ask. We saw on social media over the weekend you had a nice little visit to Ohio State. How was that? How was that for you? I believe, is this your second visit there?
It was my third visit down there.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, it was awesome because I got to take both my grandpas down with me, and one of them has never been to an Ohio State game before. So I mean, but for both of them, it was awesome to just see their reaction, like walking out of the tunnel and onto the field and stuff, and like just talking to some of the coaches too. I mean, they were just like mesmerized by the whole thing. So I mean, just seeing like their reaction and stuff just like made the whole trip down worth it.
Yeah,
That's cool.
And Brian Hartline's not a bad guy. He's had some success with wide receivers too. So I saw that there, but I'm like, man, you were on the field, and I mean, what an experience that is. I've gone to some games. I'm usually, let's put it this way, not lower. Let's a little bit high. So, but it's still a great experience. And Austin, what about you with college? Have you still have another year, so you have plenty of time left, and probably been focusing on football, so you don't really have to worry about that now. But obviously, with the success you've had, you're probably going to get some colleges coming at you. And what kind of experiences have you had so far with colleges looking at you?
I haven't really talked to that many colleges. I did go to Notre Dame last year for camp, but that's really all the experience I have talking to any big schools or anything.
Oh, it'll come.
If you keep going, if you keep the path you're on, Austin, you're gonna have a lot of you're gonna get a lot of emails, mail, whatever they do anymore. Back when we were playing, it was used to phone calls and
mail.
Actual mail pamphlets.
Yeah,
I don't think they do that anymore. So it's probably mostly on social media and the like. Well, I'll ask the question that Josh usually asks in these situations. This will be more for Brennen, I guess. As a basketball player and as a football player, would you rather sink the game-winning three in a state championship game, or would you rather catch the game-winning touchdown in the state championship game?
Game-winning touchdown in the state championship game.
There we go.
There we go.
There we go.
Well, that's pretty quick.
Here, so that was a solid answer.
I mean, football's my number one. I mean, I dream of that since I first learned what a state championship was. So I mean,
well, yeah, the last few years you guys have had a lot of success in the playoffs, and the playoffs are starting. What was it last year? Ignatius and Eds. You bounced both of those guys in 1 year, and it seems like every year you guys have continued your success. So it's a lot of fun to watch, and it's been a pleasure having you guys. That's for sure.
And good luck this week and going forward in the playoffs. I mean, it's like a whole new season starting. So good luck to you guys, and we'll definitely. I mean, Josh, I think he's getting shirts made that says "I came up with Airbees."
Yeah, what do you guys think of that?
No, I'm hoping. I talked to Mr. Hockey. I'm like, hey, you could take this idea, run with it. I just want to go to a Medina game and have that awesome student section you guys have, wear an Airbee shirt, and then I would retire from this and just go on into the sunset and just be a cool fan, and I would leave my mark. That's all.
Are you guys a fan? You guys a fan of the Airbees? You guys digging it?
I like it, man. Maybe I'll talk to him and be like, hey, get this shirt made. I'll talk to some connections and see what I can do.
All right, let's get it done. Get it done.
All
This
right.
is why Josh is the social media vice president and not business affairs vice president, because we could be making money on this.
It's all right. It's all for the
Charge $5 a shirt. I could retire on this.
I know he didn't ask for any endorsements or anything. So
No,
I know.
someone's
No,
got to
it's
take
just-
the profit.
That would be you guys. You guys can do it for charity, raise it for charity, and I'll just
Or a
give a big thumbs
scholarship.
up.
We'll give the SOT scholarship with the shirts. There you go.
We're coming up with a lot of ideas right on the spot here.
I know,
So
this is impressive.
We're doing this. This will be at our next the agenda at our next meeting here. So, Brennen and Austin, first off, great season so far. In Brennen, great career. We look forward to following you, and Austin, we look forward to following you again next year as a senior. The Medina Bees are the number 2 seed in Division I, Region 1. They will be hosting the number 15 seed, the Stronsville Mustangs, this Friday night at 7 p.m. The winner of that game will take on the winner of Wadsworth and Elyria. Brennen and Austin, best of luck to you guys. Thank you very much for joining us,
guys.
and good luck to you guys this week.
Thank you for having us on. I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Good luck.
So-
Very good. Brennen, Schramm, Austin, Knowles. Noah's still with us. You gonna stick around for the rest of the show?
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
There we
All
go.
right.
We like it. We like it. Well, as you said, the Medina Bees, the Greater Cleveland Conference champions for the second year in a row. The first time in school history that they have repeated as conference champions. That covers all the conferences they've been in up to this point: the Northeast Ohio Conference, the Pioneer Conference that we all grew up on, and the like. So, and the GCC is not getting any easier. So the fact that they've been able to have this sustained success to become a great program, not just a great team, is certainly is a huge credit to the community of Medina, for the kids that they're raising, and for the coaching staff that is cultivating all of that talent. All right, let's get to it. We have the last installment of the Power 10, and there is a lot of we had a lot of high-powered games going on this week. So we had a little bit of shifting within the top 10, a little bit shifting with the bubble as well. So
let's do it, Ed.
Let's
saving it all for week 10.
And I want to caveat this by saying this was not proofread by me when I created this. I literally so if I screw up on a name or forget to put the right record, it's not
Sean,
Ed, it's
just
Sean.
Mute
Send
yourself.
all your letters.
Mute yourself.
No, I don't want to mute myself. I worked very hard on this. Well,
I don't think it's I think it's okay.
Okay. All right. Well,
it comes across better in the actual PowerPoint than it did in the preview. So so here's our bubble. These are the teams that ended up just outside the top 10. Certainly no I mean, whatever we say doesn't change the perception on anybody. So this, I just want to make that completely clear. Tremendous seasons had by all. So the 11th spot goes to the Talmadge Blue Devils. North Olmsted comes in at 12. Aurora at 13. Buckeye drops to 14 from from where they were a couple weeks ago. Wadsworth stays in the top 15. Solon with a tough loss to Medina, but nonetheless it is a loss. So that is your bubble teams there.
It's a big bubble.
Well, the bubble really was only 3 teams. The last couple of weeks, knowing that we weren't going to talk about this that much longer, I wanted to include more teams. I thought
I like it.
It'd be fun to do that.
Yep.
Number 10, the Avon Lake Shoremen finished in the top 10 at 8-2. Their only losses are to Avon and Olmsted Falls. But right now, their best victory still remains against Berea Mid Park. Nordonia coming in at number 9. There's certainly no shame in losing to Hudson and Wadsworth as well. They had some pretty decent wins on their resume as well. It was pretty close between Nordonia and Avon Lake for that spot there. Elyria Catholic suffering their second loss of the season. They fall down to 8-2, and they drop down to number 8. Number 7, the first of our conference champions, the Holy Name Green Wave. Wow, what a turnaround but what a season they had. Again, a quietly great season. They rewarded their fans and they rewarded their school with a outright Great Lakes Conference championship. Victories over Buckeye and Elyria Catholic propelled them not only to number 7 here, but number 1 in Division III Region 10, which we'll talk about here shortly. Number 6, the Mentor Cardinals kind of move up more or less out of default because Elyria Catholic lost. But they're still a good team. They're not a team that really any team on this list wants to play, except maybe Medina. Number 5, the Olmsted Falls Bulldogs, turning in themselves again another great season. Their only losses are to Avon and the reigning defending Division III state champions, Chardon Hilltoppers. Their reputation precedes themselves. If they gave Rocco County the ball more, he'd have about 3,000 yards rushing. But Coach DeLuca doesn't need to do that. He's got many other weapons on their team. Whoops, going backwards. Number 4, the Medina Air Bees, the Greater Cleveland Conference champions, clocking in at 9-1. Their only loss is to the Avon Eagles, but certainly does not. They had a great season, and they're going to be doing some damage in the postseason. Number 3, the Suburban League national champion, Hudson Explorers, a perfect 10-0. What a great season by the Explorers as well. You can't say enough about them. They are highly ranked in Division II, Region 5, which we'll get to here shortly as well. Number 2, the Avon Eagles.
Whoa!
Arby
What?
Highland.
Oh man!
Not
Whoa!
bad.
Highland has. So we talked about this ad nauseum for a couple of weeks, and I'm a man of my word. I said things could change, and things certainly changed. The computer points, Avon is ahead of Highland, but ever so slightly. They are both conference champions. Highland is undefeated. And in this poll, if it's close, you get the nod. And Highland is
So
undefeated.
is Hudson.
They are. However, Avon has better wins than Hudson.
Okay.
But in the interim, though, Highland, they made their hay late in the season. They had a big win against Aurora. Talmadge ended up being a big win for them too. They ended up being 8-2 this year. There's no shame in the way that Highland played. Their defense is unlike something I have seen. Quite honestly, my defense when I was a senior, we were really good. We only gave up 77 points in 11 games, and most of those were in the last 2 weeks. Highland has done better than that. Their defense will travel on the road when they get there. I really, really want to see a Highland Avon game at some point in the playoffs. Right now, it would only happen in the championship game, and we'll go over the brackets. But there's a lot of landmines that both teams need to get through to even get to the right to play each other. So Avon does not get diminished at all. It's really because of how Highland finished, how they played, and they did not lose. And for that, they get rewarded as the number 1 team in our Power 10. So that is it. That is the final of our Power 10s. We will regroup on this for next year because I really don't like talking bad about any teams that we're talking about here, especially when we're doing comparisons. But I have to be transparent with the process, and unfortunately, that does lead to some teams maybe being unfairly judged to do this.
And that's why Ed probably hasn't gotten many emails. I mean, because he's transparent on how he does this. But you can't send your emails to Ed. It's, I believe, Ed at SOT.com, right? Is that it? Ed D? No, just kidding.
Exactly.
Just
or
kidding.
You can reach me on Twitter. Oh, you can.
Yeah, you can. It's at Twitterless Ed.
Yeah, we actually made you a Twitter
burner account.
Yeah.
Account.
So before we get into the playoff runs, let's talk about it. Any thoughts?
I gotta say, I there's not a lot I can disagree on this.
What?
I really, like I said, my biggest gripe was an undefeated Highland team. When I look at, again, I mean, we're splitting such fine hairs between Avon and Highland, and it will play itself out in that division. I think Medina is a legit number 4. You could conceivably make a case to them being number 3. I think maybe their strength of schedule versus who they played is maybe a little bit better than Hudson. But again, Hudson beat everybody on their team, beat everybody on their schedule, and took care of business. Holy Name, I think that's a great position for them. I would have slotted them, I think, maybe 6. I think they beat Elyria Catholic, maybe take that over. But Menor and Holy Name both, interestingly enough, are top 10 teams with only 9 games played. I mean, that's something to keep in mind, is that had we had a game for each one of these, it's a different conversation altogether. So, yeah, I have no problem with this. I think Avon Lake, again, I think Avon and Avon Lake, their best wins happened so early in the season that they didn't get they still took care of business, don't get me wrong, but they weren't playing cream of the crop teams. Like, I think Highland benefited a little bit, and I would even say Medina benefited a little bit from having those bigger games towards the end of their season. But overall, Ed, I think you nailed this one.
Ed, you actually do have a comment on YouTube.
Whoa.
That
Oh, boy.
Highland on top, I like it. That's what
Okay.
that's what one comment said for you. So you have somebody pretty happy about that. Actually, 2 now. Sean had a big smile on his face. He's living the dream down there.
I can tell you that, I mean, all of Highland's non-conference teams won this week. Berea Mid Park, North Royalton,
Berea
and
Mid Park
Brunswick
lost this week, but
Berea Mid Park. Sorry, yeah, you're right. Berea Mid Park lost. They made some hay a little bit earlier in the year, to your point. But North Royalton and Brunswick getting those victories for them, helped them out. I mean, there's no doubt about that. So that helped really close that gap there. I think if Berea Mid Park would have gotten that win, that may have gotten them real close to jumping Avon for the number 1 seed within that region. They would have got some pretty good points off of that. But to that end, so that is it. That is the first installment of our Power 10. Congratulations to all the teams. Congratulations to the Highland Hornets. They have, they waited it out. They balled out on the field. They did not lose, and they made it they made it close enough to where the undefeated team gets the nod over the team that has lost 1 game. If there's a little bit more computer points in between there, I can kind of make an argument otherwise, but I can't do that right now. I saw we had Highland slotted there at number 1 to start the Power 10, and they end up as number 1 at the Power 10. Sometimes you got to go through a little bit the ebbs and the flows there.
True.
Certainly wanted to reward the conference champions where applicable. As you can tell, 4 of our 5 conference champions are in our top 4. Holy name, Sean. I see what you're saying on that one. It'd be tough to. I think, quite honestly, if you put them on the field, I think Holy Name would probably have a tough time with Menor, but I don't know if Menor's seen too many teams with the 1-2 punch of Christian Sanchez and Javon Williams and even Wondolowski to a certain extent. So, I think that'd be a great game to see, which we'll never see, but certainly fun to play out. So that's it. That's the Power 10, and we will we'll pick up back up on that. Pick up back on that again next year. But for now.
Well, real quick, Ed, I just want to give you props for taking that on this year. I know that it's tough. It's tough because you don't want to badmouth teams, and you're not badmouthing. These Power 10 rankings, power rankings, whatever, we all know they're just opinions, but you've really put forth a lot of thought in a process to which, there's always could be tweaking and such, but I think for the most part, and maybe I'm a little biased because you're my cohort, my compadre, my counterpart here at Sports on Tap, but that actually rolled off the tongue. It felt good, Sean. Now I know why you do it, but I don't. Yeah, I think you did a real good job, Ed. Year 1 doing the power rankings or Power 10. So I'm looking forward to next year.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So
Noah, do you have any thoughts about Ed's Power 10?
Noah.
Highland jumping up to number 10 again. I was there versus Copley, and they beat Copley 63-0. Lucas Stiles had 4 touchdowns, and I believe he set the career rushing touchdown record for Highland.
Which is no small feat in itself, believe me.
No, they've had some really good running backs over the years there. What do you think in Noah? Copley comes in to that game. I mean, we all probably knew there wasn't going to be much of a chance they would win, but they put up a lot of points in the beginning of the year. They would score 50 points and lose. And DeJuan Owens was the engine that runs everything for that team. What did Highland do to neutralize him? And then by virtue of neutralizing him, neutralize the rest of the team?
He was basically like getting out of the pocket and that, and then Highland was just kind of like blitzing them. Like it was kind of like that all game.
Yeah, I have some of the highlights up from your game, and you did a great job on the video, and you're kind of seeing right now, Highland's offense move down the field, and that's kind of what they do. They're sneaky good on offense, and the defense is just impressive holding teams. They have so many weapons on that offense. What did you see weapons-wise on offense? It's obviously Lucas Stiles, but who else did you see on Highland's offense that was pretty impressive?
Basically, there was like a couple receivers who made like a couple like good catches, but it was basically a lot of the running game with like Lucas Stiles and that.
Yeah, it looks like, And that's how you wear teams down is a good running game, and that's what they do. Give credit to their O-line, obviously creating holes for their offense. Putting up that kind of points was crazy, but all year, just impressive with the Highland defense. So great job on that game, covering it, and obviously on social media you were all over it, and they can go look at your video highlights on our website, and Noah Jacobson on YouTube as well, as I'm showing some of the highlights. So go check that out, and you'll be pretty impressed. Some nice highlights from the sidelines there.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, great job. Great job.
Well done, sir. Welcome to the team again. Sean, if you want to bestow the nickname upon him, I can certainly hand that off to you if you like, or we can talk about offline how you want to do it.
Noah, as a member of the SOT team,
boy.
Now that you've been on the podcast, I was bestowed this name or this moniker when I first started because I was the newest member to the team, and I'm going to bestow this upon you. And it's the title of FNG. You are now the FNG of Sports on Tap. That means that you basically are going to get blamed for everything that goes wrong. Even if I do it wrong, even if it's my fault, you're the FNG, it's your problem. So congratulations, and thanks so much for all the help. You've done a great job this season. All kidding aside, it's been nice having you out there. You've done great with social media. We look forward to working with you going forward, especially in the playoffs. But, bro, you gotta take your time as the FNG. It's just the way it works. I did it for 6 years. I've been the FNG for 9 years. 9 years, because I've been on this show since my son was born. So 9 years I've been the FNG.
Wow.
Yeah.
Noah, do you have any idea what FNG stands for?
Football new guy?
Yeah, it's actually the fun new guy. Guy.
Sure.
Yeah, my parents and them were like kind of talking about like, what's FNG in that? And they're saying, oh, it's football new guy in that.
Okay. Yeah, your parents are adorable because that's not what it means.
Yeah. Go with.
I like it though.
Yeah, that's the safe version of what we're doing.
For this show, we can be that football new guy.
There you go. Football
and private quarters. This is definitely an F word. Moving on. To the playoff previews here. We have 6 regions that we're going to cover. Our 41 teams certainly span 4 divisions and 6 regions, especially those that have qualified. So I'm going to bring up, I think for this version, because all the teams are still in it, I think it's easiest to pull up joeidle.com and kind of go through it that way. I think it's just easier to present.
I have the matchups on the PowerPoint.
Even better.
Yeah, I went through and made the matchups for divisions 1, 2, and 3.
Well, we definitely got to pull that up then. Let's. Oh yeah, look at this. Sorry about that, Sean.
Fancy. It's all fancy.
It's very fancy.
Right? Look at me. Look at me.
Look at the XFNG. The XFNG stepping his game up here.
See what I mean? You take the moniker off and things go well.
No, it's not bad for the OFNG, the original.
All right, we're not going to add letters to it, Josh. I know you named the original Airbees, but that's not the way it's going to happen.
I like the.
All right. Let's start with Division 1, Region 1. 16 teams make the playoffs in each region. In Division 1, Region 1, there were only 17 teams in the region. So there was only one team that does not make it. In this case, I believe it was Euclid.
Yes, you are correct.
That did not make the cut this time around. Josh, you have a heavy influence in this region.
Right.
You have the GCC rematch between 2 of them actually, with the number 2 seed Medina Bees hosting the number 15 seed Strongsville Mustangs. Menor hosts Brunswick. Let's see what else you got. Actually, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's it from the GCC. But just to kind of rehash, you are right. Strongsville and Menor played week 5. Strongsville Medina played week 5. Medina came away with a 56-35 victory. Brunswick and Menor played in week 6. That was actually one of our featured games of the week. And Menor came away with a 35-14 victory. Let's be honest here, fellas. It looks like that's going to continue on that same path. Just the way that Medina and Menor are currently playing right now. Brunswick and Strongsville having down years in terms of their, record and their success in terms of what we're used to in the past. So, but I'm really excited to see, just looking at this region kind of as a whole, I'm really excited to see what Cleveland Heights can do. They're going to be coming into the Greater Cleveland Conference next year, and this is going to be a pretty good indicator of where they are. They played, I believe, Medina last year in the first round of playoffs. Medina came away with a victory. So there's a little bit of interest going on in that one. Obviously, you have Berea Mid-Park, Maxwell, and Jackson. Elyria Wadsworth, that is going to be, I'll spoil it right now, that's going to be the game that I'm going to be going to this week for one of our playoff featured games of the week. I love going to Wadsworth. Everyone knows that. But I'm really looking forward to see Elyria in person this year. I think they're well on their way. Rob, you know a little bit more about them. So tell me what I'm in store for.
Well, I think defensively, they're just an impressive unit. If they can play 4 quarters of good, solid defense, I think could set them up for a really good game. I know Wadsworth puts up a lot of points, so I think he can go one of 2 ways here. They have a good offense. Jaden Gilbert's been stepping up, and Lance Glover is a bigger physical back that I think Wadsworth's really going to have to step up on. And Elyria is a team that can pass if they need to, but running the football is their strength. Defensively, they've been in a lot of games. I mean, with Avon, they were in the game till, I believe, the late 3rd, 4th quarter, and then Avon's offense broke through. Same thing with Avon Lake. There's been games for Elyria this year that, they've been really close on, but we'll have to see what they can do. Berea Mid-Park at Massillon Jackson's another game that I think can go either way. You know, what team are you going to get with Berea Mid-Park? They can put up some points. Defensively, they really have to be physical with Massillon Jackson and try to keep them around. And if they stick around to the 4th quarter, Berea Mid-Park might be able to pull that one off, but it's gonna be an interesting game as well.
And another way to be honest, Falls, and we can wrap this up with Division I, Region 1, all roads lead through St. Ed's. I mean, they're probably the best team in the state right now, coming off a big win against Archbishop Hoban, a dominating win, 41-20. So all roads lead to them, but
maybe
it's gonna be fun.
Stowe gonna do what they can to pull the biggest upset in high school football history.
You know how I feel about this, right? You know how I feel about this.
Yeah, I do. I think the proper term is a game will be played.
Yeah.
That's
a game will occur in Lakewood.
Maybe they have something up their sleeve. This is why they play the games.
If they haven't pulled it out of their sleeve by now, nothing against Stowe. They're a great storied program. St. Ed's a beast right now, and they're not gonna be tamed by a 16 seed unless they completely forget how to play football. I just don't see that happening, but we'll see. I'm hopeful.
I have one more comment, then I'm gonna get Noah's thoughts too. With the Elyria and Wadsworth game specifically, Elyria gave Cleveland Heights all they can handle last year in a 10-7 game. And I have no doubt that Elyria can do the same this year. I think that's going to be one of the best games in the region. And Josh, I'm kind of jealous because I'm with you. There's nothing like playoff football at Wadsworth Art Wright Stadium there. So that's going to be a great scene there. Noah, you're obviously quite familiar with Medina, but you've seen a lot of these other teams over your years as in the involvement there. What are your thoughts here?
Well, first off, I will be at Medina, where the 15th seed Strongsville Mustangs will be taking on the number 2 seed Medina Airbees.
Yeah, get it.
There it is. There it
say
is.
It loud, say it proud.
And then the Week 5 matchup, which should be a pretty good game. Medina won that game 56-35. Strongsville quarterback Nolan Beer was 20 of 33 for 299 yards and 2 touchdowns. Danny Starter, Medina's quarterback, was 22 of 35 for 272 yards and 1 touchdown. So I think this should be like a high-scoring game where it might be back and forth, but yeah, it should be a good game that I'm being covering.
Very good.
Yeah,
absolutely.
we have two of our featured games of the week for week of one of the playoffs. Will be number 10 Elyria going to Wadsworth, the number 7 seed, and number 15 Strongsville in a rematch against number 2 seed Medina. Division 2, Region 5 has a little bit of GCC flavor in it, which will now become the Suburban League flavor next year. But we have mostly Suburban League teams in this region. Cleveland School of Medicine. What?
Yeah, swear to God, that's what it said. Medicine, it's medicine and other. Cleveland School of Medicine and Science, I think it is.
That would be Cleveland John Hay, and maybe they have a focus in that.
That's what it said on the website. That's honestly what it said on the website.
It was theonion.com.
No, it was ohsaa.org.
No, he's probably right.
Okay. So Cleveland. All right, moving on. We're not going to worry about that game. A game will be played in that game too, probably.
Yeah.
With all due respect to John Hay or the Cleveland School of Medicine. St. Vincent St. Mary's probably going to train wreck them. Moving on. All right, so we have a rematch between the number 14 seed Hudson Explorers and the number 14 seed the Solon Comets. This was a week 1 battle, I believe, won by Hudson in a very close battle. And then we also have Barberton's going to host Rhodes. Nordonia is going to host Garfield Heights. And I believe that does it for the area teams in this region. So, Sean, I believe you have a game you're going to be going to in this region if you want to talk about that.
Yes, I will be in Hudson, not covering the Cleveland School of Medicine and Arts and Sciences, whatever it's called. Swear to God, that was on the thing, dude. I'm not trying to be funny, but I will be at the Hudson Solon game. Look, this game was close early in the year. I expect it to be that way. I think it's probably going to be one of the better games of this division or of this week. An intriguing matchup to me is the Barberton Rhodes game, because I think Barberton's one of those teams where you just don't know which Barberton team you're going to get. Are you going to get a team that can drop 50 points on you and run away like they have a couple times this year? Or are you going to get into a slobber knocker where, it's a one-score game like we had last week with a very good Talmadge team? That's kind of the up in the air with that. I expect Nordonia in the Garfield Heights matchup. I really do think Nordonia is rounding into form right now. They're doing things like similar to what they did last year. Now, last year they got upset, I think in the second round, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was at home or perhaps I'm not 100%. But I just know that they're looking for a little bit of redemption. Joey Palinkas is playing really well for that team. That defense is starting to really round into form. I think Hudson is probably a really dangerous team, but let's be completely honest here. The two top seeds in this team are in this region are there for a reason. Hoban is what they are, and Riverside. Let's not forget, Riverside beat. Who did they beat?
Riverside beat Chardon.
Chardon, that's who it was. I'm sorry, I was trying to remember who it was.
Riverside. And they
but
lost.
Yeah,
they lost to Menor 7-6 off them, and it's only because they missed a field goal. Like they had Menor,
which, yeah.
Also
so
right.
I mean that's a tough team. I love the way Hudson's playing football right now, but I just think you look at the top of this bracket right now. The top part of this bracket, it's a tall task for anybody to really unseat Hoban. I know St. Ed's did it last week, and kudos to them. But, Hoban, again, we talk about it all the time. It's Hoban's until they lose it. And Hudson's got to have probably perfect football here out to really take it to them. And hopefully they can do it. But, yeah, I'll be in Hudson versus Solon, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'll just really chime in real quick on the Solon part. I was at the game last week against Medina, and they struggled on the offensive end without Charlie Bubonics there. Their starting quarterback, senior leader, wasn't able to play last week due to a spleen injury suffered in a previous game. And that's a huge loss for Solon. They kind of seemed lost without him. Did not have much on the offensive end. Medina was able to kind of focus in on E.J. Taylor, the big-time running back that the Comets have. And then Joe Clapasso was non-existent on the offensive end for the Comets. So it's going to be an uphill battle. Hudson's on a roll right now. They're playing, and I think this game is going to be a little different than week one, where Hudson got the 1-point victory. But for me personally, I need to see Solon really pick up. Harley Barman, he really needs to pick it up this week, stepping in for Bubonics. I think he will get better. The team will get better for it. But they really need to pick up that end of the game if they want to compete with Hudson right now.
Well, nothing like needing some offense from other guys going into the playoffs. You know, it's a tough thing to overcome. A guy like Charlie Bubonics, who's been, you know, just a great player there. You know, we had him on the show, and you know, he was in control of that offense and did enough to really get them going in the right direction. So this is a big loss, but other players can step up, and now would be the time. I mean, you know, what do you have to lose in the playoffs? You know, just play, have fun, and see what you can do in the playoffs. But it stinks that he's not going to be there, but I'm sure he'll be a leader on the sidelines and trying to get these guys in practice to understand the offense and move in the right direction.
And I can confirm, according to the Ohio High School Athletic Association website,
oh wait, here it is.
The number 12 seed in this region is the Cleveland School. It's actually the Cleveland School of Science and Medicine. They are the 12th seed. They went 7-3. That is what is listed on the OHSAA.org website as a pairing. So I did not make this up. If it goes
I do
by
see
another
Cleveland
name,
John Hay here.
Yeah, it does say John Hay.
So let's for everyone to see what we're looking at here. This is the public bracket on OHSAA.org. You can see here that Cleveland John Hay is listed. But you can also see on the Googles is they are the Cleveland John Hay School of Science and Medicine.
Okay.
So both are right.
They left out when they did the pairings. They literally just left out John Hay.
That's all right.
Yep. So last year, Nordonia's first round win was against the Cleveland School of Medicine and Science, and then they lost to they lost to Hoban in the playoffs last year. So certainly no shame in that one. Losing to Hoban is not a terrible thing there. So all right, back to the let's get back to it. So I guess the only thing I'll say about this region too is look out for Austintown Fitch. They're always a tough team in Division I they were tough, and then in Division II they're even tougher. So they're no walk in the park. So lots to talk about there. Division II, Region 6. There is a lot going on here as far as we are concerned. I will start things off briefly because I have 3 teams in here. 2 of them are playing each other. We're going to see Valley Forge take on North Olmsted. They didn't see each other this year in the regular season with either the crossovers or the end of the season games. So we're going to see the rushing attack of Jared Kelly versus Ben Farson, Shane Warden, and the rest of the Valley Forge Patriots that just run. We'll see if Xavier Balson and Colin Willard can create that 3-headed monster that North Olmsted is known for, and see if they can't get past Valley Forge. That game will be played at North Olmsted. That's going to be a great game there. The number 16 seed Westlake, they're going to go to Avon, and the game's probably going to be played there too. I think Sham Bruchieri and Michael Charlie they've had good years. But when Westlake tends to play a team in the upper echelon like Avon, it doesn't normally go too well for them. But that's why they play the game. It's an old rival.
Yeah, former Southwestern Conference.
So there's some familiarity there for sure. So we'll see what goes on there. Rob, you got Avon hosting Westlake. Olmsted Falls is hosting St. John Jesuit. Avon Lake hosting Sylvania Southview. We also have North Ridgeville traveling to Anthony Wayne. So you got a lot of influence here in this region here, Rob.
Yeah, and looking at Westlake, they've won 2 in a row, but they've lost 4 of their last 6. So that's going to be a tough game going to Avon. Avon's always impressive. Now St. John's Jesuit, they started 0-3 on the season, but have won 4 in a row. Versus 500 teams, and one win was against Fremont Ross, who's 6-4. So that should be that could be a sneaky good game, but hopefully Olmsted Falls can take care of business and get the win there. Sylvania Southview, they're 8-2 on the season, at Avon Lake. That should be a really good game. Southview, they've won 4 in a row. Both losses were back-to-back to 2 9-1 teams, Perrysburg and Anthony Wayne, who are also in the playoffs. And the only 2 teams with winning records that they did play all season, so they lost to the 2 teams that have winning records. And then North Ridgeville, they traveled to a 9-1 Anthony Wayne school. Anthony Wayne, their only loss this season was to a 9-1 Perrysburg team, 38-28. So that's going to be a tough feat for North Ridgeville. Now, don't get Coach Morgan. Don't tell him that he can't do it, because that's one thing. Maybe they can stick around, and who knows what can happen. But Anthony Wayne, always a very tough team. And then Berea Mid Park, or we talked about there in the region. In Division I, Region 1. But these teams, North Ridgeville has a little bit of an uphill battle. But Olmsted Falls, with their seeding, I think it kind of plays into their hands a little bit, because Olmsted Falls 8-2 has had a great season so far. But we'll see how that one turns out versus St. John's Jesuit. And I thought St. John's Jesuit at one point did play Avon Lake, but that might have been last year at some point. So we have seen them before, and it's a lot of the teams that are out west are going to come this way, and some of the teams here are going to go out west. So it should be some great matchups for the first round, especially Westlake. Give them credit; they went 5-5 this season. I think it's been a great change for them to go to the GLC, but getting back in the SWC, Avon is always. I mean, we know how tough they are, and playing at Avon with a student section, that's going to be a tough place to play, but we'll see how that one shakes out.
Of course, we have the number 2 seed. The Highland Hornets are going to be hosting Oregon Clay. North Royalton is going to travel to Fremont Ross, so we got some Suburban League action here as well, Sean.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with Highland, they're doing Highland things all year, right? Their defense is outstanding. They are, and Noah can attest to this. They grind out games, and it's methodical. They can hit you for a big play if they need to, but really they run you down. Highland is a team that I think, as we talked about in the Power 10, these 2 teams are on a collision course in this region. I think. Again, I think. If I had to give an edge, I would say giving an edge to maybe a Highland, simply because Avon, if I'm looking at this right, has a potential to have to play 2 teams if things break their way that they've already played this year. And we see that, we see that all the time in this division. And Avon's been very good at beating teams twice in a year, but it doesn't always work out that way. Whereas Highland, realistically, unless North Royalton goes deep, I don't think they're going to run into a team that they're familiar with. So there's something to be said about having a clean slate and going into that, not having to play a team that's so familiar with you that there's no surprises. You can't do that. Saying that, Avon's done it year in, year out. So it's not something that's new to them. But I just think if I'm giving an edge to the way Highland's playing defense right now, the way they're running the ball, the way they're controlling games from the outset, I'm really hoping that we could get some chalk here and get a 1 versus 2 in a regional final, because I got to tell you, there won't be anybody in either one of those towns if Avon and Highland lock up for a chance to go to the state Final Four. I'm telling you that right now, and I pray that it works out, because I think those are the best 2 teams in this region.
I hope that works out too, because that game will probably be played in Brunswick. So that's right at least right in my backyard. To your point, Sean, Avon, Avon by virtue of being the number 1 seed, I think they have the easier route here. I mean, they could end up running in Olmsted Falls again. Anthony Wayne is certainly no slouch. Highland is going to run, if they beat Clay, they're going to run into either Xavier Balson, Jared Kelly, and Colin Willard and North Olmsted Eagles, or they're going to run into Ben Farson, Shane Warden, and that triple option offense that Valley Forge runs. We have familiarity with them, so we know that those are no slouches themselves. That said, I don't know if they've played somebody of the caliber of a Highland, to where Highland's played this year. I just, that's, but the bogey that Highland has to worry about after they get past Clay, if they do, and after they get past potentially Olmsted, North Olmsted, and Valley Forge, is probably going to be Toledo Central Catholic. Avon Lake will give them a game. Central Catholic has been the cream of the crop as well. If it weren't for Avon, I think Central Catholic will probably have won this region once or twice. So there's a lot to think about in this region. And Avon, by winning the number 1 seed, they certainly gave themselves a pretty good route to repeat as the regional champion for like the 6th straight year or something absurd like that. So that's Division 2, Region 6. We have a couple more we'll get through pretty quick here. Division 3, Region 9 has a couple of teams from the Suburban League. The number 10 seed Aurora Greenman are going to travel to see this Cuyahoga Valley Christian Academy Royals, and then Talmadge is going to host Villa Angela St. Joe's as well. So those are that's what we're looking at for Division 2, Region 9. Sean, what are you thinking here?
Yeah, quickly, we've talked about it all year. Talmadge is a team that can score points in bunches. They got a great quarterback in Ty Hurst. They got a fantastic receiver in Colin Dixon. I look for them to be kind of the dark horse in this league. I know in this region, you got Chardon, you got Canfield, Ursuline. Those are really good teams, but I think Talmadge has the firepower if they can just, have their defense show up. Aurora is a bit of an outlier. They're rounding into a good team right now, but again, they've had some pretty tough losses, and I think that they have the opportunity here to make a run, but they're going to be on the road, and I don't know how much of a road dog Aurora is right now. They've had some rough games on the road, not putting up a lot of points defensively. They've been exposed, but they're a team that is not. They're a program and a team that's not unfamiliar to the playoffs. And not a lot of these teams are, but I think Aurora is a team where had some injuries and they're having to rely a little bit on backups, and they're playing well, but I don't know if they're a team that has a rocket on their back like maybe Talmadge does. They can draw from that explosive play. Maybe we'll see. Like I said, to get the number 10 seed, I think a lot of that has to do with losing to a Barberton the way they did, and really, not really putting up a fight against Highland and just really having those big losses. I don't know if they have the firepower to go shot for shot with teams like a Chardon or even a Canfield, or even, look, this is a tough division. This is a tough region, and Chardon's won it every single year. So like we say with Hoban, all roads lead through Chardon until they're beaten, and they haven't been beaten in the last 3 years.
I agree with you, Sean. There's Canfield is the usual suspect. Ursuline, I think this might have been the highest division they've been in a while due to competitive balance, but they're always a threat. Youngstown Cheney is kind of new to the scene. Their only loss is a very tough loss to Youngstown Ursuline. I've been reading when I go down to visit my in-laws. I've been reading a lot about them. It's a Youngstown public school. You don't see a whole lot of success from them, so I think it's a really good story for the Cowboys of Cheney. University School is a tough school as well. They play Kenston. Kenston's a legacy program as well. But we'll see if the Suburban League can get out of week 1 and potentially get to week 2. Division 3, Region 10. There's a lot of influence here from the Great Lakes Conference. It starts with the number 1 seed, the Great Lakes Conference champion, the Holy Name Green Wave, are going to host the Copley Indians, the number 16 seed here. Holy Name's going to take a real good look at what Highland did. I'm not convinced that Holy Name has the personnel that Highland has defensively, but they certainly have the offensive firepower. If they can neutralize DeLon Owens, Javon Williams, Christian Sanchez, Austin Monolowski, and the rest of that team should be able to put enough points on the board to move on there. Rocky River is going to travel to Tiffin, Columbia, and Rocky River had a good 3-game win streak within conference play to get themselves into the playoffs. it's going to be tough sledding going to Columbia, and Columbians are traditionally a very good program as well. Bay Village is going to travel to Norton. Norton got upset last year, I believe, in the first round of the playoffs. I think by Holy Name, actually.
I think you're right.
And so Norton had a really good season last year. They've repeated that success this year. They are tri-champions of that. I think it's the Metro Conference, and with Cloverleaf of all teams. Cloverleaf is a number 4 seed. As a fellow Medina County team, I'm very happy for Cloverleaf. Good for them. I hope they're able to get a win over Defiance there. Buckeye is going to take on Padua. That's not going to be a fun game for Buckeye. Padua is very good, but Buckeye is also very good. So we'll see if they can shake off the effort that they had against against North Olmsted and be able to put some more points on the board there. So to me, this is a very wide open region. It's Holy Name as a number 1 seed. It's not. This is the most highly ranked they've been. They're not going to sneak up on anybody. You can make an argument they've been able to do that the last couple of years as lower seeded teams that have won all the way through the playoffs of the regional championship. There will be no such thing here. If they win this game, they'll take on the winner of Lutheran West and Toledo Scott. Lutheran West has had a renaissance as of late as well. If they win that game, they could take on Cloverleaf or Mansfield Senior. Mansfield Senior went to the state semifinals, I think, recently, or even the state finals. They're no slouch themselves. So I think this is about as wide open as a region as you're going to find. I'll put my eggs in Holy Name's basket, though, because they have proven it in this region 2 years in a row that they can make a run. And we'll see if they can continue that. You also have Clyde sitting out there, too. Holy Name lost to Clyde earlier this year. So that's not they wouldn't see Clyde until the championship of the region anyway. So certainly not to talk about there. And last and certainly not least, Division 4, Region 14. This is currently inhabited by the number 1 team in Division 4, the Cleveland Glenville Tarblooders, who do own a victory over the Avon Eagles. They have run complete roughshod over the Senate Athletic League. They have not given up 1 point in 2 months. But Elyria Catholic is the number 4 seed here, so they can host 2 playoff games. They're coming off a tough loss to Holy Name. Holy Name really took it to them in the second half. We don't normally see Elyria Catholic and that happen to Elyria Catholic. But they have so much talent on their team. Tavion Thomas, of course, Levi Ellis, the all-world running back, who will most likely take over. He's the all-time leading rusher in Elyria Catholic history next week if we see him have a game that we're used to seeing him have. Elyria Catholic also made the regional championship last year in Division 5, Region 17, I believe. It's going to be tough sledding here. They play a Perkins team that they already lost to, that they could be in the offing. West Holmes was a Division 4 or Division 3 state runner-up last year, I believe, or state semifinalist, and they moved down to Division 4. Glenville right now is the class of the group. They have the speed, they have the athletes, they have the coaching. We'll see if Coach Gink can get that elusive state championship that he hasn't been able to get. I don't know too much about these other teams. So I think for lack of knowledge outside of what we know, Elyria Catholic, they'll probably get by Bryan. Bryan's a 6-4 team. That would lead them into a match, I believe, with Clear Fork or Upper Sandusky. I think I like my chances if I'm Elyria Catholic against those teams, and then Glenville will be the next battle. So we'll see what happens there. But obviously, you have to play the games, and we'll see what happens. So that is all we got for our division, all of our previews for the regions. So make sure you follow us along. We will be at 3 games again next week. We will be at Elyria versus Wadsworth. We will be at Stroudsville at Medina, and we will be at Solon at Hudson. So make sure you're following us at SOT Podcast. Sean, Josh, and Noah, our new FNG, will be out and about there. Josh has the Wadsworth helmet. no, certainly not shilling for anyone there. But nonetheless, no more Power 10. Power 10's done. We're not going to be going over too many. The recaps are still be pretty prevalent now because we have a lot of teams left. But we'll start slimming that down. We'll probably get some more teams up. Maybe get some more athletes on as the show goes on, and then we'll continue to break down these regions. As we get more information, there's a lot more to talk about, and we'll certainly have that. So I'm going to wrap it up right there. For our sponsors, G&G Fitness Equipment, GV Art and Design, Bandwagon Fantasy Sports, RRT Productions, and Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance. You're watching this live on YouTube, Sports on Tap. Follow us on Twitter at SOT Podcast. Check out our Facebook page, Sports on Tap. Of course, our website, sportsontappodcast.com. Any emails about stats, information about your teams, pronunciation corrections, or other comments, make sure you send them to sportsontappodcast@gmail.com. Good luck to all the teams out there next week. And for Rob Troutman, Noah Jacobson, Sean Duffy, and Josh Jeffy, my name is Ed Dick. This is Sports on Tap. We will see you on the other side.